divine prophecy revealed, 7 heavenly comets, and a sacred solar eclipse to transform all on September 21st. In the quaint English village of St. Michael's, life was about to change forever. On a bright autumn morning, humble Pastor Thomas stood beneath the ancient oak tree, hands raised to the heavens as he proclaimed an astonishing revelation that had been given to him in prayer. 7 heavenly comets would soon grace the skies, followed by a solar eclipse that heralded a divine transformation for his beloved community. The air crackled with an electric energy as word spread, igniting imaginations and stirring the hearts of the faithful like a gentle wind whispering promises of hope. Murmurs of excitement flowed through cobbled streets, bouncing off quaint cottages. Children gazed up, pointing at the clouds, wondering if they could spot even one comet darting across the sky. "Miracles await us," they exclaimed, eyes bright. Thomas, known for his empathetic sermons that danced melodically through the echoes of St. Michael's Church, felt an urgent pull towards his mission to prepare his flock for the spiritual majesty to come. But soon discord began to stir beneath the surface. The baker's young daughter, Lily, fell gravely ill, and shadows crept into the hearts of the townsfolk. Families that once gathered in joyful anticipation now whispered doubts behind closed doors. What good was prayer if it bore no fruit? The tight-knit community began to fray, fears swirling like the autumn leaves tossed in a tumultuous storm. Determined to rally their spirits, Thomas boldly called for a community prayer vigil in St. Michael's that evening. The church, filled with flickering candlelight and the delightful aroma of fresh, baked bread courtesy of the villagers, became a sanctuary of hope. As the townspeople gathered, their faces painted with worry, they offered their burdens to God. Thomas led the prayers, words flowing like a river of faith that buoyed the faltering hearts around him. And then, amongst the fervent prayers, a miracle unfolded. A soft, golden glow enveloped little Lily, casting a warmth throughout the church that made hearts race and tears spill. Gasps of wonder filled the air as life returned to her fragile form. "It's a sign," cried an old woman, her hands trembling. An inexplicable peace settled, creating unity once more among the villagers, as divine hope ignited within their breast. Yet, even as they looked skyward, the first of the 7 comets blazed its heavenly trail across the velvet night, a thrilling reminder of Thomas's prophecy. Those who had doubted found their eyes opened, doubts receding like fog before the morning sun. Hearts that had cracked were healing. Faith that had waned now soared. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notification from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. But as the excitement of miracles faded, darkness loomed once again over the village. A violent storm brewed, crashing through their newfound unity. Old fears surfaced, and families confronted doubts that echoed through their minds. Thomas, heart heavy, knew he must plead for intervention. Gathering his congregation once more, he looked upon their anxious faces and summoned all the strength his faith could muster, calling upon the protection of St. Michael. As the ominous eclipse approached, an ethereal light began to glow faintly, whispering possibilities yet unrealized. Would the reflection of divine purpose bind them together, or would it unravel them in fear? The villagers stood on the precipice of revelation, holding their breath as the impending darkness threatened to engulf them. Would they trust in their faith, or allow doubts to pull them apart before the eclipsing dawn? As the clouds roiled above, dark and heavy, Pastor Thomas felt a sense of urgency prick at his heart. He stepped forward, the flickering candlelight casting wavering shadows on the faces of his congregation, each one reflecting a blend of hope and dread. "Brothers and sisters," he began, his voice steady, "we gather here not just as a community, but as a family united in faith. Look around you. We have witnessed wondrous signs. Let's not let fear shroud our hearts. The wind howled outside, rattling the stained glass windows, a stark reminder of nature's raw power. Yet within the church, a cocoon of warmth began to envelop them. It was as if the very presence of the Almighty was wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. Thomas felt it too, the echo of their prayers rising like incense to the heavens, an unbroken chain of uttered faith binding them together. It is in this darkness that we must shine brighter, Thomas continued, his hands clasped in prayer. For the comets above are not mere spectacles. They're the fullness of God's glory, reminding us of his promises. Look to the sky. The first comet has passed, and more await. A divine transformation is upon us. As he raised his voice, the congregation leaned in, their hearts beating in unison. Even through the storm, they could sense the power of the promises that hung in the air. Tears glistened in the eyes of the old woman who had first cried out in joy for Lily. She stood, voice quavering. When I was young, I was taught to trust the signs of the Lord, and this is one of them. We must believe. Encouraged by her words, a whisper of confidence swept through the church, filling the hearts of parents, children, and the weary with a fervor they had almost forgotten. Up in the pulpit, Thomas felt a surge of strength course through him. Let us pray together for protection from this storm and for courage to embrace the light that is coming. Our God is a God of miracles. As they bowed their heads, the atmosphere thickened with palpable anticipation. Outside, the storm raged fiercely, yet inside, a gentle tranquility blossomed. They prayed for the sick, for peace, for strength, hands clasped tightly, unyielding. With each prayer, they felt the walls of doubt crumbling, replaced by divine assurance that they were not alone. Suddenly, a brilliant flash lit the church, blinding momentarily. Gasps erupted, filled with awe and wonder. Through a crack in the clouds, a sliver of moonlight pierced down, illuminating the faces of the people, showing the reflection of trust and renewed faith. The storm, although still fierce, began to lose its grip as if pushed back by an unseen hand. Encouraged by this sudden display of heavenly light, Thomas felt emboldened. He spoke again, his voice clear and ringing like a bell. Let us not forget, my dear ones, that God's plans are often revealed in the darkest of times. When the eclipse comes, it's not the end, but a new beginning. Hold on to your faith tightly, for soon we shall witness transformation unlike any we have known. As they opened their eyes, faces turned to the skies again. The first comets had begun to blaze across the heavens, each a promise on its own. The crowd stood in silence, the storm dwindling, their hearts buoyed by hope. A sense of profound reverence settled over them as they prepared for the eclipse. But as they gazed above in wonder, a figure cloaked in light appeared at the edge of their view, holding something that glimmered, a sacred object reflecting the very stars. Who was this figure? What message did they bring? In that moment, the eclipse began its approach, casting shadows as intense as fears from the past. The final call was to faith, and the answers they sought lay just out of reach, waiting in the depths of the darkness. The figure stepped closer, bathed in a halo of radiant light that seemed to pulse with raw energy. The congregation gasped collectively, their eyes widening as they sensed the sacredness of this unexpected visitor. The cloak billowed softly, and within the folds, the glimmering object shimmered, capturing the flickering candlelight and transforming it into a cascade of dancing colors. Who are you? A voice dared to break the spell of silence. It belonged to a young man, his heart pounding fiercely within his chest. I am a messenger, the figure replied, their voice sweet as honey, yet deep and authoritative. Sent from the heart of heaven, I come to reveal what has been hidden, the truth behind the comets that streak across your skies and the eclipse that approaches. Eager anticipation washed over the church like a fresh wave, igniting hearts with passion. The figure continued, each comet is a sign, a divine reminder of God's promises, reminding you that even in turmoil, Transformation is near. In this eclipse, it is meant to awaken the dormant faith within you. Pastor Thomas felt the weight of those words settle in his spirit, resonating with a truth deeper than he could fully comprehend. It felt like a call to arms, a rallying cry aimed straight at the soul. "What must we do?" he implored, stepping down from the pulpit towards the cloaked figure. "Believe," the messenger replied softly, yet it rang with clarity, echoing within each heart present. "Embrace the darkness as part of the journey, for it is in acknowledging the shadows that you will truly see the light. You will be tested, but your faith will emerge more radiant than ever." As the messenger spoke, the wind howled outside, yet within the church, an unearthly calm began to build. Families clutched each other, united in this moment of divine revelation. The shadows of doubt began to lift, replaced by a dawning awareness that something magnificent was indeed being ushered into their lives. Gather now, with your hearts open and your prayers fervent. Each of you plays a part in this unfolding narrative. The figure cried, lifting the sacred object. It was a crystal orb, swirling with colors that resonated with the comets outside. Touch this orb, and let it fill you with courage. Feel the love of your Creator radiate through you, illuminating all fear. One by one, people approached, hands outstretched towards the orb, their faces illuminated with wonder. Each touch sent ripples of warmth through their souls, enveloping them in a divine embrace. As the last person made contact, a brilliant flash erupted, momentarily blinding everyone as raw energy pulsed through the room. They trembled, hearts beating faster, as if being drawn into the very heartbeat of the universe. In that instant, time stood still. The storm outside echoed with the roar of powerful waves. Yet within the church was a stillness enriched with purpose. They felt themselves pulled into a sacred communion, united not just with each other, but with something far grander. Suddenly, the messengers stepped back, their forms shimmering like stardust. "The hour is upon you. You must prepare your spirits, for when the eclipse reaches totality, a great unveiling will occur. But remember, the journey through darkness is essential for the light to be fully realized." And just as suddenly as they had arrived, the figure faded into the air, leaving only a glimmer of light in their wake. The group remained in a hushed awe, each heart aching with expectation. Pastor Thomas could feel it, a divine stirring, a promise waiting to unfold. "Are you ready?" He questioned the softly illuminated congregation, sensing the shift in spirit around him. Could they really face what was to come? The trials and the triumphs intertwined. As the last words lingered in the air, the first glimmers of the eclipse began to shroud the moon, darkness creeping forth. What awaited them at the climax of this cosmic event? Was it merely a shadow, or something far greater? So many questions yet deep within. One thing shone clear: their collective faith would guide them through every shadow into promised light. The moon, like a silver coin, was slowly swallowed by the encroaching darkness. The congregation watched in awed silence, their breaths catching in their throats. Pastor Thomas stood at the front, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. He could sense the stillness in the air, a tangible electric charge that buzzed softly around them. "Let us pray together," he urged, stepping away from the pulpit to bring them closer. They gathered in a tight circle, hands joined, hearts aligned. "Lord," he began, his voice steady yet filled with devotion, "we stand before you, yearning for your guidance. We are prepared to embrace whatever your purpose holds for us today. Shine your light upon our hearts. Reveal the truth we seek." As they prayed, a gentle breeze swept through the church, lifting the scent of flowers and open fields into their shared sanctuary. It mingled with the faintest hint of rain, triggering memories of quiet peace and promise. With eyes closed, the people felt their souls intertwine. Each heartbeat synchronized as they inhaled together. An overwhelming unity enveloped them. In the midst of this spiritual cocoon, a whisper unfurled, a subtle, guiding presence, entreating them to remain strong. Trust the process, someone murmured, opening their eyes, revealing tears of peace. It was a woman whose faith had once crumbled, but now stood firm in the light of hope. Our doubts are being swept away, another voice added, encouraged by the swell of energy pulsating through the room. This is our moment for change. Unbeknownst to them, above the church, the first comet traced its fiery arc across the deepening sky, its tail shimmering with brilliance. Those who glanced through the stained glass windows caught glimpses of the heavenly spectacle. It was brief yet profound, a fleeting reminder that the heavens were conspiring to conjoin with their earthly struggles. Do not fear the darkness. Pastor Thomas spoke gently, but with fervor. It is merely the canvas upon which our faith will paint revelation. Let your heart be open to what lies ahead. Suddenly, the orb from the messenger flickered to life again, sending vibrant sparks swirling like a celestial dance. Each sparkle felt like a divine promise, igniting a flicker within every soul present. Gasps of awe erupted as one by one, the congregation were swept away on currents of expectancy. Dreams long buried began to blossom again within their minds. Visions of hope, aspirations of healing, and whispers of renewed purpose. As the eclipse continued to deepen, shadows stretched within the church, mingling with a warm glow now emanating from within the hearts of believers. Slowly, Pastor Thomas began to see the significance of this time, a shared metamorphosis where their faith would be forged into something new. Just then, a loud crack of thunder echoed outside, followed by flashes of lightning piercing the night sky. The light illuminated the faces of the congregation, reflecting not fear, but a palpable sense of thrill. Remember, dear friends, he proclaimed, raising his voice above the storm, we are becoming vessels of light. Through the tempest, we shall emerge transformed. As if in response, a brilliant beam shot from the heart of the eclipse, illuminating the orb as it pulsed in rhythm with their united hearts. The world outside dulled, focusing purely on the powerful light that was gathering within the church. Are you ready? Pastor Thomas questioned, his voice barely audible over the roar, yet clear enough to pierce through doubt. What awaited them next? As the final hints of daylight faded into twilight, they could only wonder if they would truly embrace the unknown that lingered ahead or gaze back at the comfort they once knew. In this mystical moment, something was about to unveil, but what? Would it be darkness or a revelation of divine wonder? Fear and excitement danced as they braced themselves for the impending marvel. The air thrummed with anticipation, each soul vibrating with the promise that was unfolding. The intensity built as the moments stretched like thin strands of silk, fragile yet full of potential. Pastor Thomas could feel it settle within his chest, a warmth igniting hope, an ancient stirring of possibility. Open your hearts wider, he encouraged, his words weaving through the congregation. Let the light of the heavens fill every corner of your being. Outside, the tempest raged on, yet within that sacred space, the atmosphere swelled with reverence. Tension and trepidation transformed into fervent joy. Hands gripped tighter, a living chain binding them in this holy experience. A sudden silence fell, wrapping around them like a loving embrace. The hustle and bustle of life felt miles away, insignificant in the face of the divine mystery. Eyes began to close again as they took deep, synchronized breaths, creating a rhythm that echoed their faith. And then, as if summoned by their collective yearning, the light of the comet sizzled against the backdrop of the ink-dark sky. It illuminated faces, washed them in ethereal glow, each countenance now reflecting divine grace. Gasps lifted like prayers to the heavens. Pastor Thomas's heart raced. Do you see it? He shouted, his spirits soaring. The comet is a messenger. It carries our hopes. It is a sign from above. The woman with tear-streaked cheeks looked up, her sorrowing past transformed into radiant belief. This is it, Pastor. We're being called. Yes, he exclaimed, sensing an uprising of faith. Waves of energy seemed to pulsate around them. We're not here by chance. We are within a divine narrative, a story far greater than ourselves. The storm pushed against the church, raindrops like percussion on the roof, but it only made the light inside glow stronger. With each beat of thunder, their solidarity grew. Each flash illuminated forgotten dreams, igniting visions of lives deeply intertwined, stitched together by divine threads. Together we stand, a voice shouted, and soon hands raised, faces turned skyward. In that very moment, the flickering orb radiated its light with dazzling vibrancy, and the comet broke apart into 7 distinct paths, splintering light that infused the air with shimmering particles. They felt it, the tender rush of grace, each streak a piece of divine promise landing gently on their shoulders, uniting them in purpose. Lord, Pastor Thomas called above the symphony of nature, reveal to us our greater calling. We are ready. A profound stillness enveloped them again. And from that silence, a voice swept through the church. Not from lips, but from within the voice of their hearts, thrumming with assurance. It echoed softly, embraced transformation. You are my children, chosen for this time. Each heart quickened, realizing they were conduits of change. The very air crackled with the sense that they were on the brink of something monumental. Prepare yourselves, Pastor Thomas declared, filled with vigor. The light of the world is leading us. It is beckoning us into a new dawn. Outside, the storm danced with fury, yet in this moment they were undeterred. Bound by faith, awash in hope, they were ready to dive into the depths of the unknown. As the last glimmers of the comet faded and the skies quieted, they sensed a shift in the air. A new chapter awaited. What divine revelation was this eclipse ushering in for them? What would unfold from this sacred commingling of light and dark? The mystery lingered, but hope filled their hearts to the brim. And the question echoed through their gathering. What awaited them on the other side of this eclipse? The weight of expectation hung thick in the air, mingling with the remnants of sacred energy that coursed through the congregation. Pastor Thomas gazed out at faces illuminated by the fading light, each one a mirror of hope, wonder, and anticipation. He breathed deeply, allowing the peace that enveloped the church to anchor his spirit. "Can you feel it?" he said, his voice soft yet powerful, threading through the silence. The veils between heaven and earth are thinning. This is a time of revelation. As dawn approached, a new light filtered through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on worn wooden pews. It felt like a promise wrapped in brilliance. They stood, suspended between physical reality and a divine calling, their senses heightened by the tumultuous storm that raged outside. The voice of a young man broke the stillness. "Pastor, what does it mean? The comet, the 7 paths?" His eyes reflected confusion, but also an eagerness to understand the unfolding mystery. Pastor Thomas stepped closer to the altar, the flickering candles illuminating his features. Each path represents a unique call to us. God is inviting us to embrace our individual yet collective destinies. We must heed it with open hearts and willing spirits. The murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd like a gentle wave, and even the storm outside seemed to soften its fury, as if giving space for divine dialogue. The atmosphere grew thick with expectancy, each person leaning in for the next words, longing to grasp a deeper understanding. "Look around you," Pastor Thomas urged, gesturing to those gathered. "These are not just faces, they're souls woven into our journey. We are one body, united by love and faith. Each comet's path, each soul's story leads toward the same destination transformation." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. A wave of serenity washed over the room, hearts beating in synchrony with the pulse of hope. "What if we are called to lead others?" A woman's voice chimed in, the tremor in her tone revealing layers of uncertainty meshed with steadfast belief. "What if our purpose is greater than we can imagine?" Thomas nodded, a smile breaking across his face. "Yes, your spirit grasps the truth. We are not meant to walk this path alone. God is calling us to share our light, to be the ones who reflect His grace in our communities. An uproar of emotion filled the space. Hands went up again, not in supplication, but in fervent commitment. "I want to be a vessel of change," shouted a teenager, her eyes wild with fervor. The energy in the room intensified, a communion of hope sparking within those gathered. "Then, let us prepare ourselves," Pastor Thomas proclaimed, the power in his voice rising to meet the drum of the rain. "Let us seek the heart of our calling. We must dive deeper into prayer, into our truths, into the divine mystery waiting to be uncovered." With each word, the congregation felt an electrifying filling, a purpose intertwining with their very beings. The storm still raged beyond the church, yet inside, there was only the stirring of souls ready for action. "Let us take a moment," he directed, "to listen inward. What is God revealing to you in this sacred moment?" They bowed their heads, closing their eyes, allowing the silence to cradle their hopes. As the world faded, whispers of the divine caressed their ears. Thoughts danced around possibilities, weaving dreams and aspirations into vivid tapestries of faith. Each heart began to pulse with a vivid message, igniting the flame of determination within. But then, amidst this fervent communion, a lone flash brightened the sky. Outside, an explosion of silver streaking across the horizon. Gasps erupted inside the church, drawing their eyes back to the window. "What was that?" A voice murmured, confusion reigniting tension as fear bubbled just beneath the surface. Pastor Thomas raised a hand, crafting a semblance of calm amidst rising questions. "Whatever it is, we are called to face it together." The intense gaze of the congregation met his, a mixture of excitement and wariness swirling like the tempest outside. What new revelation was unfolding? What transformations awaited them in the wake of that startling light? As they held fast in that sacred moment, a shared realization dawned: this was the beginning, not the end. A greater calling lingered just beyond the horizon, veiled yet beckoning. "Prepare yourselves, beloveds," Thomas implored, his own heart racing with the thrill of the unknown. "For the next step is upon us, and it promises to change everything." What awaited them on this journey of revelation? As the echoes of their combined faith swirled around them, the mystery deepened, and anticipation pulsed in the very air they breathed. The air seemed to shift, charged with expectation and a sense of foreboding. The congregation's collective breath hung in the stillness, thick with both fear and hope. Pastor Thomas looked around the room again, his heart quickening. In the face of uncertainty, they were gathered in unity, a powerful testament to their faith. "What if this is a sign?" whispered a voice from the back, barely above the whisper of the storm thrashing against the old building. "What if the comet is God calling us to something greater?" "Yes," Thomas exclaimed, his voice igniting the flicker of courage in hearts. "This is not just about distant stars. It's about each of us shining our light in the world. We are called to witness, to share divine revelations." He stepped down from the altar, eyes scanning each face. There was anxiety, but also something more potent: expectancy. People were ready. They felt the pull of divine purpose within them. Taking a deep breath, Pastor Thomas moved closer to the nearest congregant, an elderly man whose hands trembled as he clutched a worn Bible. "Brother James," he said gently, "what is stirring in your heart?" Startled, James blinked as if he had just been awakened from a dream. "I feel a voice calling me, telling me to let go of doubts, to remember that we are chosen for this moment." "Exactly. We are chosen." The energy in the room rippled, hearts beating faster at the confirmation. Let's hold on to that truth. It's not just about facing this comet. It's about embracing who we are meant to be in this world. Suddenly, a young girl, not more than 10, stood up. Her small frame seemed to glow against the dim light. "Pastor, I saw something in my dream. 7 comets, and a sun. The sun hid behind clouds. But behind it were colors, brighter than anything I've ever seen. Intrigued, murmurings filled the church. The flames danced in the candle holders, embers rising like prayers toward heaven. "That sounds like a vision from God," exclaimed an older woman. "The clouds may try to hide the light, but the colors are our linked destinies, brightening our way." "Yes," Thomas agreed enthusiastically, his heart soaring. "What if those comets represent transformations in our lives? Each one illuminating a different aspect of your journey, bringing hope and divine purpose?" The congregation grew animated. Voices rose in excited chatter, igniting further thoughts of destiny and calling. Electric anticipation filled the air, akin to the promise of a new dawn breaking. "Let us not forget to ask for guidance," Thomas reminded. "We must seek the Lord in prayer. Major changes and monumental callings come with discernment through him." As he spoke, a powerful gust of wind slammed against the church doors, rattling the very foundations of their gathering space. Gasps rang out, and for a moment, panic flickered like a candle in the wind. Thomas raised his hands, calling for calm. "Remember," he said, his voice steady and filled with authority, "we do not walk in fear. Our God is with us. He gave us this gathering for a reason. We have come together to support one another and step boldly into the unknown." With renewed faith, they began to pray together, voices rising in a rushing wave of devotion. The storm roared outside, but inside, there was a different battle, prayers interceding and hopes soaring. As they prayed, a soft, golden light began to fill the church. It glistened, peering through stained glass, illuminating the shadows and marking every face with a divine glow. "Look," someone exclaimed. "His presence is here." Each heart started to feel the weight of hope descend upon them, an understanding that this gathering was a divine appointment. They were meant to confront whatever lay ahead, perhaps even to shine brighter when the darkness descended. Then, deafening thunder clapped above, and with it the earth trembled. Their eyes widened as the comet they had spoken of, now flaring in the heavens, streaked deeper into their awareness, drawing them not just into amazement, but into adventure. As Pastor Thomas stood amongst them, he felt the pulse of purpose align. What if this cosmic event is just the beginning? What if God is about to unveil mysteries we cannot even fathom? The congregation, united by God's promise and fervor, could hardly contain their anticipation. "Prepare your hearts, beloveds," Thomas called out. "Heaven is unfolding around us and within us. For the vision of transformation is about to unfurl. The real journey starts now." What awaited them in this dance of stars and faith? What hand stirred the universe to shift that night? As the lights flickered ominously, the group grasped to remain steady, knowing full well that this was but the threshold of a wondrous revelation. The soft murmurs of prayer filled the church, intertwining like threads in a tapestry. Each word was an offering, a plea, and a declaration of faith. Pastor Thomas gazed around, taking in the fervor around him, hearts beating in synchrony with the storm outside, a reminder of God's might. He felt a warmth enveloping him, a deep sense of being cradled in grace. "Can you feel that?" he asked the congregation, his voice barely rising above the sound of the storm. "It's like we are on the brink of something extraordinary, a shift, an awakening. God is not only watching, he is moving among us." The golden light pulsed, casting an ethereal glow upon the faithful. Faces illuminated, eyes wide with reverence and expectation. They were privy to a glimpse of divine possibility. Little Clara, with her innocent faith, spoke again, breaking the solemnity. "What do the comets mean for us, Pastor? Will they come to visit us?" "I believe," Thomas said, his heart pounding with excitement, "these comets symbolize change, divine change. They will challenge us to step beyond our comfort zones, to embrace the light of God in ways we have yet to imagine." A ripple of murmurs passed through the congregation, people shifting on their feet, grappling with the intensity of what they were hearing. Hope blossomed like flowers reaching for the sun. Thomas could see it the tiny stabs of courage igniting in hearts that had long silenced their dreams. Courage to do what? Questioned a young man named David, stepping forward. What if we are meant to do more than just witness? What if we are meant to act? Exactly, Thomas exclaimed. What if each comet is a call to action? To reach out to those in need, to share our testimonies of faith with the world, to become the hands and feet of Christ. Eager whispers filled the space, while behind them, thunder cracked once more. The storm mirrored their rising spirit, a divine partnership between nature and faith. Clara stood taller, emboldened by the atmosphere of unity. We should tell everyone about the light. We should be brave, just like God. Tears sprang to Thomas's eyes, a mixture of gratitude and awe. The innocence of a child spoke pure truth, a challenge for even the most hesitant hearts. Let our words remind us, dear friends, he called out. God's light is not merely for us to keep, it is for sharing. Let's pledge together to be bearers of that light, to shine brighter in our communities, to lead with love amidst any darkness we may encounter. In our workplaces, David shouted, now feeling the collective energy surge. In our schools and in our homes, we could be the beacon of hope for those lost in their shadows. With each declaration, the energy in the room intensified. They knew the weight of purpose was upon them, and their hearts responded with shared conviction. As they raised their voices together in prayer, seeking God's guidance for what they were to do, the lights continued to flicker playfully, taunting them with the mystery of what was yet to come. Lift your hands high, Thomas encouraged. Together, let us pray for divine clarity. Let us ask God for the courage we need to step forward. Suddenly, a bright flash illuminated the church, cutting through the flickering light. Gasps filled the air, as if heaven itself had punctuated their prayers. A deep rumble echoed, and the room seemed to swell with energy. Thomas felt the divine presence wrapping around them all. What is happening? Someone whispered in awe. But Thomas only smiled, allowing hope to bubble within him. I believe we are receiving our answer. This is the awakening of the faithful. The dance of the comets, the call to action, it is all unfolding right before our eyes. Yet, deep in his heart, a question lingered. What precise action lay ahead for them in this unfolding mission? What transformative journey would each take, and what would it demand of their faith? As the divine presence shimmered around them, Thomas closed his eyes and breathed in deeply. It soon became clear that the real adventure had begun. Hold on tightly, beloved friends, he whispered, and the congregation echoed his sentiment with fervor. God is about to lead us on a holy expedition, and we will not walk alone. But what awaited them as they embarked on this sacred journey? What choices would come forth as their hearts ignited in faith? The mysteries of tomorrow lingered on the horizon, calling them to step bravely into the light ahead. The air was thick with anticipation. The echoes of prayer hung in the church like the scent of incense, drawing them closer to something profound. The storm outside roared with strength, but inside, a stillness enveloped them far deeper than the rumble of thunder. Stay focused, my friends, Pastor Thomas encouraged, his chin raised with determination. The Spirit is here with us. Open your hearts to what is unfolding. We've noticed the comets, but did we pause to listen to their whispers? They carry messages, tidings meant for our ears alone. As Clara clasped her tiny hands tightly, her enthusiasm shone through. What do they say, Pastor? Can we know their secrets? Thomas smiled, feeling the warm pulsing of the light surrounding them. I believe they are revealing to us our parts to play a grand design orchestrated by God. For each comet carries a different meaning. They light the path to our missions, illuminating the way as we seek to do His will. The room buzzed with conversation, hearts racing in unison with the rumbling of the storm outside. It was as if each member felt the tremors of faith building, desperately needing direction. David, feeling emboldened, stood at the forefront. But how will we know what we are called to do? How can we be sure? Thomas nodded, appreciating the sincerity of David's question. We begin with prayer, of course, but we also listen to one another. Share your hopes, your fears, and the stirrings of your spirit. Each story is a flicker of the divine light guiding us. Each experience can be a stepping stone toward our calling. Little Clara shot her hand up again. We should write it down. What if we write letters to God about our dreams? Like a list of what we want to do. Her eyes sparkled, and she glanced around the room, searching for support. A chorus of agreement broke forth. Soon, others chimed in, yes. Let us do it. Maybe we can make a wall of dreams, another member suggested, and see how God leads us through them. Thomas felt the energy in the room crackle. Inspiration flowed like the vibrant colors of sunrise. That's it. Let us create together. A tapestry formed of hopes, dreams, and prayers directed toward action. God has given each of us a unique gift, a comet, if you will, that shines brightly. As discussions flourished, thoughts coalesced into purpose. Members wrote down their ambitions, pinning them lovingly onto a large bulletin board that had once housed announcements. It transformed from a mere wall to a vibrant display of faith, sparking realization of divine promises. Suddenly, the bright flash of light flickered again, more intense this time. A collective gasp fell over the congregation. It felt as though heaven itself had smiled down upon them. A deep murmur of awe filled the church, standing as a testament to their unity and faith. Thomas felt his heart race. This moment was beyond any previous, beyond mere words. Was it the long-awaited message? In the depths of his soul, he felt assurance that something extraordinary awaited them, a divine mission that would test their resolve and ignite their faith even further. Look at this, Clara cried, joy radiating from her. It's like the comets are shining even brighter. In her innocent wonder, each member felt the truth echoing within their hearts. God was leading them, not just as individuals, but as a family rooted in faith. As the ripples of excitement settled, they realized they had embarked on a journey together, one destined to unravel secrets and call forth new blessings. I wonder what chapter God is inviting us into next, Thomas murmured softly, already sensing the unfolding mystery. What if the comets weren't just a reminder of faith, but harbingers of their deepest transformation? What would they discover about themselves, and how would it change the world around them? Indeed, a sacred solar eclipse awaited them on the horizon, promising divine clarity, a light breaking into the shadows. What revelation would await them when the skies turned dark? The world outside the church fell silent, as if it too was holding its breath. The storm had diminished to a whisper, the last raindrops falling like soft petals from a flower. Inside, Pastor Thomas felt a profound stillness settle over the congregation, a feeling akin to standing on the brink of a great revelation. Beloved friends, he began, his voice calm, yet full of passion, the time has come. The eclipse is upon us, a divine moment where darkness meets light. We are here together, united and transformed. With those words, an ethereal glow shimmered through the stained glass, casting radiant colors onto eager faces. The warmth enveloped them, igniting the embers of the faith festering within every soul. Let us open ourselves to this moment, he continued. The comets we've witnessed are not just celestial phenomena. They're divine affirmations calling us toward our profound purpose. Let us celebrate this pivot, not as an ending, but as the harbinger of new beginnings. The congregation stood shoulder to shoulder, eyes gleaming with excitement and gratitude. Words of affirmation echoed back to Thomas, voices blending into a symphony of belief. Clara clenched her paper of dreams tightly in her small hands, her heart racing. As darkness enveloped the moon, the church glimmered with anticipation. The very air pulsed with energy, as if each member felt the heartbeat of the universe synchronizing with theirs, a reminder of their connectedness. Pastor Thomas raised his arms. Together, let us invite the divine presence into our hearts like never before. The commotion outside faded into the background. In that sacred moment, with hearts open wide, they bowed their heads, bracing themselves for what was about to unfold. God, Thomas called out fervently, "We stand before you, ready for transformation. Let your light guide us." As they prayed, a blinding flash erupted, cutting through the darkness like a divine sword, illuminating the sanctuary with an otherworldly glow. Gasps filled the air, and for several beats, time seemed to suspend itself. Beneath the brilliant light, each face reflected joy, hope, and awe. "Do you see it?" Thomas shouted, his spirit soaring as he pointed towards the window. "The eclipse is here. A celestial dance, the blending of shadows and light." The moment the eclipse reached totality, the atmosphere shifted. A whisper of voice, not of thunder or storm, but a gentle breeze filled with love washed over them. "Embrace your calling." It seemed to murmur, wrapping around each heart, melting away the last remnants of doubt. Suddenly, the church erupted in joyful chaos, each person stirring with purpose. Families began to share their newfound dreams, confessions flowing like a river breaking through dammed waters. "This moment is our beginning," David declared, eyes alight as he held his dream aloft. "Let us pray together every morning. Let us hear God's direction." Yes, a chorus of voices rose in agreement, each longing to partake in the divine plan unfolding before them. Laughter and excitement echoed through the sanctuary, igniting a fire within their souls. "Look around you," Thomas beckoned. "You are each a comet in your own right. You carry light within you. Let us share that with our community. Let us cultivate hope and strength together." The warmth of unity enveloped them, producing an invigorating sense of purpose. The storm had once seemed ominous, but now felt like a welcome challenge, position and preparation for them to emerge from the darkness transformed. "May your light change lives," Pastor Thomas encouraged, lifting his hands to catch the collective energy of faith they had nurtured. "Let the love of God shine, not just through words, but through actions that uplift our village." As if responding to their fervent prayers, the sacred orb from the messenger re-emerged, floating gently above the altar, glowing with an angelic light, igniting their hearts with fiery zeal. Clara's eyes widened. "It's beautiful. It's our hopes coming alive." "Yes, little one." And just as these comets spread across the sky, so too will our dreams spread through the lives we touch. Thomas beamed, the joy palpable in every heartbeat of that community. The congregation formed circles, sharing plans of outreach, support for the ill, love for one another in their different walks, and promises to follow the paths God was paving for them. "Tomorrow shall be our first day of hope," David implored, eyes ablaze. "Let us seek those who feel lost and show them the light of Jesus. Who are we to hide the radiance?" An elder chimed in. "This is our calling, to lift the weary and inspire the brokenhearted." In that moment, they grasped the profound truth of their existence. They were called to be vessels of love, reflections of God's light in the world. As the eclipse began to wane and the moon retreated behind the sun's radiant embrace, a sense of finality washed over the crowd. Pastor Thomas smiled, looking at the radiant souls around him. This gathering, this moment, it marks the birth of new faith and obedience to God's call. Step boldly into the future. We shall face the trials ahead, not with fear, but with faith, knowing that the Maker of Comets guides our every move. As they stepped into the dawn of a new day, the villagers of St. Michael's knew something extraordinary awaited them, a sacred mission that connected their hearts to each other and resonated through the divine, a journey that stretched across not just their village but beyond, into every life they were destined to touch. In the light of the morning sun, they departed together, cocooned in the embrace of faith, ready, willing, and transformed by the heavenly comets and unfolding divine purpose above. Join us in celebrating this divine transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and you need to do it now. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this miraculous ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true servants of God understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.